Hey everyone, Michelle Zenisek here. Let's see here. I've got some notes here. So I wanted to today we're going to talk about how to delegate tasks to a virtual assistant. I have been a virtual assistant for 10 years now, so I kind of know a little bit about this topic. Um, um, so I want to teach you how to delegate tasks to a virtual assistant and show you no matter what kind of task it is, um, by doing this, you free up more time for yourself so that you can focus on the things that make you money, right? Because that's what you're in business for. You want to make money. And if you're doing tasks that somebody else could be doing, then you're taking time away from spending time from focusing on those tasks that make you money, right? My name is Michelle Zenisek. My business name is Run With It VA, and let's get started. So, number one would be to define a task. Okay, so a task would be like, let's say you need someone who can handle your bookkeeping. Well, there's probably different tasks that go into bookkeeping. I'm not a bookkeeper myself, so I'm just using bookkeeping as an example. But, excuse me. But ultimately, there's probably multiple tasks that go along with bookkeeping. So your first thing is you would want to hire someone who knows who is a bookkeeper, who knows about bookkeeping, and they're going to know probably things you don't know about things that need to be done as far as bookkeeper. I would, when you hire the bookkeeper, I don't know why it is when you go live and all of a sudden your body wants to start coughing. It's like Murphy's Law, right? So I apologize. So when you hire a bookkeeper, have them, or even during the hiring process, you could have them outline the steps that they would need to do to manage your bookkeeping. And then take a look at that. You can compare if you're interviewing more than one person for the for the role. You could compare their lists. Now you may not know what's supposed to go in that list because again, you're most likely not a bookkeeper. However, it's still a good judge of what these individuals know excuse me, about bookkeeping. So let's say you then hire someone to be the bookkeeper. They have those tasks. I highly recommend a task management system, a project management system. I use one called Teamwork. There's other ones out there like Asana and Trello. Dubsado, I think, is another one. But whichever one you use, I think I would highly recommend that. These systems are created and they're designed to be able to break out projects and tasks. So I would highly recommend that. That way you can create tasks. Like in Teamwork, I can I have a project and each client is a project in Teamwork, and then inside that project there are lists. And so within that I can so let's take this for example. If we are using the bookkeeping as an example. So within your project, this is, you could have a project called accounting and have a list that's for bookkeeping. And within that list, you could have a task, and for each task that goes along with bookkeeping. Excuse me. Now, Within teamwork, I have the ability to say, okay, if this is a task that needs to be done monthly, I can set it that way. I can set it to recur monthly. So when someone works on that task and they close it out, teamwork will automatically create another task for the following month. Okay. So that's why it really allows you to systematize it and automate it so that you can, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about creating another task like, oh, got to remember to create another task for next month, right? So, and then within that task, you can assign a deadline. So for this month, it's due by, let's say, the 10th. And so the bookkeeper finishes it by the 10th, and they check it off that it's finished, and then teamwork would automatically generate a new task for the following month. Okay. Now, that's just an example of how to set that up. I mean, it's really, again, it's a great way to systematize and automate that process. Excuse me. And you can do that for other projects within your business. And, I use teamwork. I have a team of 3 subcontractors. And so I use that to create tasks for them. And then I also create tasks for myself that way. So, it's a great way to keep myself organized and also my team. So within those tasks, you can, because this is going to bring us to the 4th point. The first point was to define the task. The second one was outline the steps required to complete the task. And third is to assign a deadline. Now, 4th is communicate any specific instructions or requirements. In teamwork, I can do that. I can put it in the details of the task, what is required for that task. And you want to be as detailed as possible, so there's no confusion on that. But understand sometimes confusion happens, and it's okay. It's not the end of the world most of the time. So, but you live and you learn. You realize, you find out, and when you are vague about your instructions, things probably are not going to go the way you want them to. The more instructions you give, the more likeliness that the task will be completed correctly. The 5th and final tip here is to, pay your virtual assistant accordingly. And there are bookkeepers who are virtual assistants. As I often tell people, virtual assistant is more of a industry than it is a title. So it's not like, I call myself a virtual assistant, but I don't do bookkeeping. I focus on building funnels and email marketing for clients, and I do a lot of content creation. But ultimately, I'm still a virtual assistant. But there are virtual assistants who are bookkeepers. There are virtual assistants who will manage your calendar and your inbox, that sort of thing. But ultimately, in the end, you want to pay your virtual assistant accordingly. And what I mean by that is to understand that a virtual assistant is an independent contractor. It doesn't mean you can't hire a virtual assistant to be your employee. You can. But there's different, and I'm talking specifically about the US at this point. Excuse me. I don't know how it works if you hire someone internationally. But here in the US, when you hire an employee, you have costs that are involved with hiring an employee. Okay. Taxes, insurance, equipment, training, that sort of thing. When you hire a virtual assistant, they pay their own taxes, they pay their own insurance, they pay they pay for their own training and their own equipment. So these are things that you don't pay for. Well, that doesn't mean that um, you get to pay someone the same rate you would pay an employee while they have all these costs involved with being an independent contractor. That's called having your cake and eating it too, and it just doesn't work that way. Um, virtual assistants charge more than what you would pay an employee, and that is because they're in it to make money. They have to cover all these costs, and they also want to put food on the table for their family. Um, so understanding that, let's say you're thinking an employee you'd pay $20 an hour for a bookkeeper role. Well, maybe if you hire them as an employee, but if you're going to hire them as an independent contractor, then you need to expect to pay more, because they're covering all those costs that you are now not covering, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that means they have to charge more to make up for that, and also earn a profit. So just something to keep in mind as you are, as you consider hiring a virtual assistant. I highly recommend you do. And the reality is, so let's say my hourly rate is $50 an hour. Okay. Let's just say as bookkeeper. Okay. $50 an hour. Now, most are probably going to package their services, but I'm just using this as an example. And let's say to do your bookkeeping, it would take me 10 hours a month to do that. That's $500. That's really not a lot. And you're going to pay a lot more and have a lot more red tape with hiring an employee. So you kind of have to think outside the box that way. Most people, they hear $50 an hour and they think, 40-hour a week pay, and it's not that. You're probably not even paying probably not even paying someone for 40 hours a month. So you have to keep an open mind about it. Don't be afraid of that large dollar amount. You have to look at the big picture. Okay, how much per month is this going to cost me at that rate? So just food for thought. And, would love your feedback. Any questions on this topic? Ultimately, you really can't grow and scale your business without delegating. When you try to do it all yourself, it's you just never get anywhere. You want to get to a point where the only thing you're doing is focusing on what makes you money. So I hope that this has been helpful. Again, I'd love your feedback. Feel free to leave comments or feedback or questions, and we'll talk again soon.